Hi, this is Jack Downs. Um, I'm going to be doing a little run through of this voiceover music bed PSA for you. Um, this is in case you are doing this lesson not in the classroom because you've gone to some of the teaching events. That's fine. You can just follow along here and do it. And otherwise, if you're doing this in the classroom, um, then you probably don't need this recording. Anyway, I'm right here in Audacity. You'll see you should have the handout with you, and you'll see some explanation here. First, it says that you need to get the choose a song to use with your PSA. And I've given you either the CD in the classroom or there is available on Moodle essentially the same files in a zip file, these song files. You may have to find a subfolder in the zip to find the song files. These are songs that you've heard before and we've used before. These are all instrumental pieces that we have rights to use. Your idea is to listen to a few of them and choose one that you think feels like the atmosphere or the mood as best you can of your PSA. Also, you're looking for something that's smooth and not too percussive or disjointed, because of course this is going to be playing at a low volume below your PSA, um, so that you don't want it to be distracting. So you can go listen to some. I have found a few songs here. Unfortunately, where I'm recording right now, I don't have access to a really good speaker, but you'll hear a little bit. I brought both a couple of tracks in, a couple of music tracks in, 6 and 7 from that CD. And I've got my PSA here too. One thing to learn in doing this is to learn the idea of mute and solo. See the mute button and the solo button. Solo means I'm going to listen to just that track, and you see the others go gray, and now if I play it, you can hear the music. I can go stop. I can say, no, I want to solo this one. I'm going to play just that track. I'm going to listen to it. Okay, I think either of those would be fine. I'm going to actually use the first one I choose, so I'm going to close that one up, and now I have to unmute and unmute those so I can see them in blue again and they're ready to go. And I also have my WAV file of my PSA. That's my PSA right there. So we're going to play the music and the PSA at the same time? Really? Well, yeah, but here's the problem. If I just do that, what happens? Be a man, see the doctor. Dead men aren't good. The problem is, it's hard to hear, right? And this will be even more evident when you have your headphones on and you're doing this yourself, that the volume of the music interferes with the volume of the voice. Now, you know at this point that you can do fades in and out. You have used those before, but that's not going to really help you here. You may also know that you could adjust the amplitude of the entire track. Yes, you could, but we don't want to just have the music be just low the whole time. What we want to do is we want to create music that swells up at the beginning and then the volume goes down, then the words start, and the volume is very low where the words are going on, so we can hear the music, but it's just barely in the background, just nicely in the background, actually. And then we want the words to stop and the volume to come up again, and go down again, and then end. So how are we going to do that? Well, we have to use something called the envelope tool, and we also have to use our time shift tool. Now, you've used the time shift tool before. I use the time shift tool to push my voice recording down a ways, a little out of the way. Okay, good. Now I'm going to zoom in to the first part of this music recording, assuming that you could cut this music recording up and start with something other than the first part. I'm going to assume we want to do that. I'm going to use my regular selection tool and select a portion here like that, and then I'm going to zoom into my selection because that's the way I like to move around, so I can see my seconds here. We're going to make a bunch of transitions. I see we have a little dead air here. I'm going to delete that out too. I'm going to want the music to swell up from nothing up to the highest volume, and that'll take about a second or a second and a half, probably about 1.5. And then it'll stay high volume for about a second and a half. Then it'll go down to a certain level over about a second and a half. Okay, good. How do we do that? This is called the envelope tool. First, I would select the track I'm going to be working in. That's it, that one down there. And click on the envelope tool, and here it is, envelope tool. You see what's happened to this track is it's gotten these little blue lines top and bottom. Extra blue lines. See that's happened? That means I can click these control points in this line. I'm going to click one. It'll make sense in a minute why. I'm going to click one at the start, one after about a second and a half or so, roughly, something like that, and one about another second and a half or so, and one about another second and a half or so. And I can see my seconds up here if I want to look. I can see them up here. So I have about 5 seconds taken care of. I grab the first one and I can yank it down. I'm actually squeezing that volume to start at almost nothing or practically nothing. The next one, I can move them around if I want to. I'm going to move it out to about, as I said, about a second and a half or so. At that full volume, I'm going to move this guy back up. When you click the control points, sometimes you move them a little at the same time, but that's okay. All right, and then I'm going to drag this down to, see, I'm squishing the volume of this down to a very small amount. How small? Well, you're going to have to listen with your headphones and tell. And it'll be different for different tracks, and also it depends on the amplitude of the main part of your voice here too. I'm going to click back to my time shift tool and drag my words down so they're just starting as the volume has just come down. So right about there. So really what I've done is I've added something like 4 or 5 seconds of time at the beginning while the sound starts. So volume's going to come up, be steady, and come down to a certain level. And I can listen to it now. I'm going to play it. It's going to sound not as good as when you have your own headphones on, though. Be a man, see the doctor. Dead men aren't good. So the volume went up, stayed steady a little bit, and then came down to a certain level. You don't think that level's right? Good. Go back to the envelope tool and change it a little bit, maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower. All right, and then we're going to scroll all the way down here to the end of the PSA. We have way more music than PSA. That's okay. Now we want the volume to come back up again. Guess what? More control points. I'll click 1, 2, again 4 of them, 3, 4. By the way, you can learn more about this if you want to learn how to delete control points if you want to do other things with them. There's a lot more you can do. Now I want this to go down to essentially 0. What we've done is created fade ins and out here. And then we're going to have to be cutting this right around here. How could we cut this? Well, I could go to my regular selection tool and just start selecting and deleting. Probably a better way, though, would be to put my cursor here where we want the cut to happen. And go to Edit, Clip Boundaries, Split. Now I can take my time shift tool and grab this chunk and move it. It's separated. It's a whole separate thing now. I can just delete this chunk completely by using my regular selection tool and double clicking in it to select it and hit the delete button. So I did a split. I moved it out just to make sure it was well split, and then I used my regular selection tool and selected and deleted that chunk of stuff. If I needed to, I could go back and play some more. I'll put my whole thing in my whole project in the window now with this other magnifying glass here, which fits the project to the window. I could go back and I could play some more with my envelope tool. This idea of creating envelopes is a common idea which we see in a lot of different programs, audio and video programs. Different kinds of envelopes can be created. I would listen to this a number of times, make sure I had it right. I would save my projects as I went. I haven't saved my project, that's bad, but you should be saving your project into your working folder. Then we want to do a Control A when you have everything all set and make sure you don't have any other tracks around. I select everything. I'm going to go to Tracks, and I'm going to mix. I'm going to mix in render. So mix and render, that's a mix down, really, to jam it all into one track now. Now it's like one unit, it's all set. And now I would go ahead and do my normal export as an MP3 into the folder, and I would make sure to listen to it. Always listen to what you get afterwards. When you're outside of the program, listen to it like with a regular player. Make sure you really got what you want, and make sure you put the correct file up on Moodle. One more thing. Sorry, I was just checking something out. They've made some changes to this envelope tool in this version. I did want to tell you about deleting control points if you should ever want to. So imagine I put a couple control points on this piece of music, and I decide I don't want that one after all. I just yank it off, and it'll go away. Also, do you see when I make control points? You won't need this for the current project, but just so you see, it makes extra ones kind of inside here. I can control the volume by bringing this up and down, but what if it only goes up to a certain level, right? What if I want to make it even louder? These little inside control points would allow me to push it up even higher, well beyond which would be crazy in some cases, but maybe sometime you might need to go beyond the normal amplitude and push it up even beyond, and use the control tool to do it. So there you go. Use the envelope tool to do it. There you go. That's the assignment. So good luck with it, and make sure that you really listen well to get what you want.